Hello and welcome back to the Paranormal channel. So, like most paranormal investigators, you've probably seen your favourite teen use a REM pod and thought, where can I get one of those amazing, life-changing ghost hunting gadgets before seeing the price? Well, I've got you covered. In this video, I'll show you how to build one of these REM pods for so much cheaper than the retail price. So without any further ado, let's get into this. So for Christmas I was gifted this REM pod, and being a massive nerd I immediately opened it up and took a look at the internals. It turns out that all of the main REM pod components are actually contained in one of these, which is a doorbell alarm I believe. And with this little black box I'm going to show you how to turn it into a fully functioning REM pod like this one. Also, stick around until the end of the video and I'll show you how you can modify this case to make an even cheaper REM pod than this one. If we open up the alarm we can see the main chip, as well as the battery terminals, the speaker and the wire that actually triggers the alarm. Taking out this screw in the top of the chip will also allow us to remove it from the case. The speaker itself is lightly glued in, but if you pop off the plastic disc on the front you can lightly push the speaker through until it comes loose. From here you can totally remove the REM pod components from the casing. And now that we have the bare chip, we can start converting this into a functioning REM pod. First of all, I like to remove the battery terminals and swap them out for one of these cage style battery holders. This holder has a power button built in which gives you more control as to when the REM pod is turned on or off. I remove the two current battery wires and solder the cage wires onto the chip. You can do this one at a time so you don't get your terminals mixed up and accidentally put the negative onto the positive or anything like that. Next up, let's look at adding the LED in. You'll need to cut into these two wires that connect the speaker to the main chip. Again, doing this one at a time is the easiest way to do it. The wire connecting to the inner circle of the speaker is the positive, so once both ends of the wire are cut and stripped to the desired length, you can attach the long pin of the LED into the positive end. It's then a case of just going through the same process for the negative pin. I then put a heat shrink around the connection just to make it a bit more secure. The next step is to click the like button below this video if you're finding it helpful, and subscribe if you want to keep up with my content. Finally, to add your antenna you will need to cut and strip the alarm wire and then solder it onto the antenna you wish to use. This stage can be a bit fiddly and may cause you some headaches as the wire is quite large, but if you thread one side through the eyelet in the antenna you can then solder both ends of the wire back together. The main build of the REM pod is now complete and you can think about mounting it in some form of case. I personally went for these small wooden boxes because they're a nice size that you can pop them in your pocket or carry them around easily, and they're customizable, which I really like as well. This is where my trusty glue gun came in. I first mounted and glued the battery cage in place. I then glued the LED and speakers into their respective holes. And then the antenna into its own hole also. I then used a generous amount of glue to secure the chip to the box. I also glued some of the wires to the bottom of the box just to stop them from moving around, and used a large amount of glue on the antenna connector just to secure it to make sure it's not going to fall out. And that is the REM pod built. As I say, due to this battery cage you've got your on off button here, and due to the way the antenna is attached as well you can swivel it around however you'd like, so you could stand the REM pod on its side for instance, where the battery packs here, and just basically have the REM pod like this so the antenna isn't interfering with the box whatsoever. On screen now is the total price for this version of the REM pod, but remember how I said you could modify the original case? For this, the best way to do it is you don't need to swap the battery pack out, and this can be done by making two holes in the case, one for the LED and one for the antenna. You can do this either with a drill or your soldering iron and just sort of poke holes in the plastic. The process of attaching the LED and the antenna is actually exactly the same, and then all you have to do is poke the antenna through the top, making sure that none of the antenna is actually in the battery cage area, and then you can poke the LED through the other hole. Once you've secured everything with glue and sort of folded any wires back and glued those as well, that is your pocket REM pod done, and all for a total of £22. which as you can see is a huge saving on the retail price. I hope you enjoyed the video. On screen right here is a video on how to make a paranormal music box if you'd like to add that to your ghost hunting gear as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.